Welcome to our channel. What if the change in your pocket wasn't as ordinary as it seemed? Some quarters carry history, rarity, and surprises that have fascinated collectors for generations. Let's uncover the most coveted quarter dollars in U.S. history. Before you spend your next quarter, stop for a second, because the coin you're about to overlook could be one of the most interesting modern U.S. quarters hiding in plain sight. Today's first coin isn't ancient, it isn't gold, and it didn't come from a treasure chest, yet it has quietly caught the attention of collectors all over the country. If you've handled change in the last few years, there's a real chance you've already had this coin in your hands and never realized what made it special. The 2021 United States quarter featuring George Washington crossing the Delaware looks ordinary at first glance. It feels like any other quarter. Same size, same weight, same everyday appearance. But this coin is different, and once you know what to look for, you'll understand why it deserves a second look before it ever leaves your pocket. This quarter stands out because it represents a very specific moment in U.S. coinage history. It was issued for just 1 year, during a transition period at the U.S. Mint, which already makes it unusual. 1-year designs are always worth paying attention to, especially when they break away from what people are used to seeing. Collectors love coins like this because they don't blend into long-running series, they stand alone. The design itself immediately sets it apart. On the reverse, instead of an eagle or a symbolic image, we see George Washington in action, standing in a small boat as it cuts through icy water. This is not a calm or decorative scene. It's tense. The boat is crowded. The water looks rough. Washington's posture shows determination rather than comfort. It captures a moment of risk and uncertainty, and that feeling translates strongly into the coin's appearance. This design choice matters because it is far more detailed than most circulating quarters. The water lines, the folds in Washington's clothing, the boat structure, all of these elements require a strong, clean strike to show properly. And that's where things start to get interesting. Not all 2021 crossing the Delaware quarters were struck equally well. In fact, many were not. Because of the fine details in the design, weak strikes are common. On a lot of circulated examples, the details in the water look flat, the edges of the boat appear soft, and Washington's features may lack sharp definition. That means when a coin does show strong detail, it immediately stands out. Condition plays a huge role with this coin. Most people treat quarters roughly. They're dropped, stacked, scraped, and tossed into machines. So finding a 2021 crossing the Delaware quarter in exceptionally clean condition is far less common than you might expect. Coins with minimal marks, strong luster, and sharp details are already separating themselves from the rest of the population. Now look at the front of the coin. The obverse design is another key reason collectors pay attention to this issue. Instead of the familiar portrait that appeared on quarters for decades, this coin features a different depiction of Washington, facing the opposite direction. The portrait has sharper lines, a stronger jawline, and a more sculpted appearance. It's subtle, but once you notice it, it's impossible to unsee. This obverse design was not created in 2021. It was actually designed decades earlier and passed over at the time. Its appearance on the 2021 quarter gives the coin an extra layer of historical significance. It's not just a new design, it's the revival of a long-overlooked artistic vision. That alone makes the coin feel intentional rather than routine. But rarity isn't always about how many coins were minted. It's about how many survive in desirable condition. And this is where many people make mistakes. They assume modern coins can't be rare because millions were produced. What they forget is that most of those coins are damaged, worn, or poorly struck. High-quality examples become scarce very quickly. Then there's the most exciting category of all, errors. The 2021 crossing the Delaware quarter has already produced a number of notable mint errors, and this is one of the biggest reasons collectors are searching through rolls and pocket change. Errors are unexpected, accidental, and impossible to recreate, and that unpredictability is what makes them so desirable. Some examples show doubling in letters or design elements, where parts of the image appear slightly shadowed or repeated. Others display die cracks, which look like raised lines running across the surface of the coin. These cracks are not damage, they are flaws in the minting die itself, meaning every coin struck afterward carries that same feature. There are also off-center strikes, where the design is noticeably shifted, leaving part of the coin blank. These are instantly noticeable and immediately collectible. Even smaller errors, like unusual die chips or incomplete details, can elevate an otherwise ordinary quarter into something far more interesting. What makes this especially important is that many people mistake errors for damage. They see something unusual and assume the coin is ruined, then spend it without another thought. That's exactly why so many error coins disappear back into circulation. The people who benefit are the ones who slow down and look closely. This is not a coin you want to rush past. It's a coin that rewards patience and attention. A simple magnifying glass can reveal things the naked eye misses, tiny details that separate common examples from special ones. So if you come across a 2021 crossing the Delaware quarter, don't dismiss it. Don't assume it's just another piece of change. Take a moment. Look at the details. Check the strike quality. Look for anything unusual. And most importantly, don't spend it without being sure of what you're holding. Up next, we move from a modern pocket find to a quarter that completely changed how collectors look at transitional years in U.S. coinage, the 1966 quarter. At first glance, this coin doesn't look dramatic. There's no special anniversary, no bold redesign, and no obvious clue that it's different. But that's exactly why so many people underestimated it for decades, and why a small number of surviving examples became legendary among collectors. The year 1966 sits in one of the most unusual periods in U.S. mint history. Just a year earlier, silver had been removed from circulating quarters, ending an era that had lasted more than 170 years. Rising silver prices forced the government to change the metal composition, and the transition was anything but smooth. Collectors were hoarding older silver coins, circulation was strained, and the mint was under pressure to produce massive quantities of new clad coinage quickly. To discourage collecting, the mint made several controversial decisions. Coins no longer carried mint marks. Proof sets were temporarily suspended. Special mint sets replaced them, and quality control took a back seat to speed. The goal was simple: flood circulation and keep coins moving. Ironically, those decisions created the perfect conditions for rarity. The 1966 quarter was struck only in a clad composition, using copper and nickel bonded over a pure copper core. Millions were made, but very few were struck with exceptional quality. Weak strikes, dull surfaces, and contact marks became the norm. Finding a sharply struck 1966 quarter with strong luster and clean surfaces is far more difficult than most people realize. Many of these coins entered circulation immediately and were heavily used, which explains why truly pristine examples are almost non-existent today. Even coins saved early often show signs of handling, wiping, or improper storage. Time has not been kind to this issue, and that reality works in favor of the few survivors that escaped damage. As a result, each top-quality example becomes more isolated as the years pass. And then there's the version that changes everything. Some 1966 quarters were struck with extraordinary precision, far beyond what was typical for the year. These coins display bold details in Washington's hair, crisp lettering, sharp rims, and vibrant original luster. They stand out immediately when placed next to ordinary examples. Collectors refer to these coins as condition rarities, coins that are technically common, yet incredibly rare in top condition. The difference between these coins and average examples is impossible to ignore once seen side by side. But the real intrigue comes from the special mint set strikes. These were not standard circulation coins, and they were not true proofs either. They occupy a strange middle ground, with smoother surfaces, sharper details, and a refined appearance that makes them instantly recognizable to trained eyes. Many were mishandled over the years, opened, touched, or improperly stored, which drastically reduced the number of pristine survivors. Because of this, surviving high-grade examples are closely tracked by serious collectors. Among these special mint set quarters, a microscopic fraction achieved near-perfect preservation. No major flaws. No haze. No contact marks. Full detail and original surfaces intact. These are the coins that collectors compete fiercely over, because once they're locked into collections, they almost never reappear. When one does surface, it quickly becomes the focus of intense attention. Adding another layer of complexity, some 1966 quarters show striking anomalies and production quirks unique to the era. Improperly prepared dies, unusual surface textures, and subtle strike characteristics have fascinated specialists for years. When these traits appear alongside exceptional condition, collector demand increases dramatically. This is why the 1966 quarter isn't a coin you judge casually. Two examples can look similar at arm's length, yet belong in completely different categories once examined closely. Under magnification and professional grading, the gap between ordinary and extraordinary becomes unmistakable. What truly elevates this coin is how unforgiving the grading scale is for this year. The jump from a high-grade example to a top-tier specimen is enormous, and very few coins make that leap. Registry competition has pushed demand for the finest known examples into an entirely different realm, where scarcity outweighs age and metal content. Most people who encounter a 1966 quarter never think twice. It looks plain. It feels ordinary. It blends in with other clad coins from the 1960s. But that familiarity is deceptive. This coin belongs to a chaotic moment in U.S. monetary history, when policies meant to stop collecting accidentally created some of the most elusive modern rarities. The lesson here is simple but powerful. Coins don't need to be old, silver, or flashy to be extraordinary. Sometimes, value is created by circumstances, rushed production, unusual mint practices, and survival against the odds. The 1966 quarter is a perfect example of that reality. And when one of these coins appears in virtually flawless condition, with every detail intact and every surface preserved, the result can be staggering. In fact, the finest known example of the 1966 quarter has reached a recorded value of $126,000, making it one of the most surprising and misunderstood quarters in U.S. coinage history. Now let's move on to the 1978 quarter, a coin that many people have handled without ever realizing how complex and misunderstood it really is. This quarter comes from a time when U.S. coinage seemed settled on the surface, yet behind the scenes, quality, precision, and consistency were far from perfect. That quiet imbalance is exactly what gives this coin its power today. By 1978, the quarter had been clad for more than a decade. Silver was long gone, designs felt familiar, and the public had largely stopped paying attention to everyday coinage. The mint was focused on efficiency and volume, not on creating coins that would one day be studied in detail. Speed mattered more than refinement, and that approach left lasting fingerprints on the coins themselves. The 1978 quarter followed this pattern closely. Enormous numbers entered circulation and were immediately put to work. They traveled through registers, pockets, machines, and containers where friction and impact were unavoidable. Over time, this constant movement softened details, dulled surfaces, and erased much of the original character these coins once had. Very few escaped that cycle untouched. Many of these coins were forgotten in drawers, jars, and coin rolls, adding to the unpredictability of their survival. What separates special 1978 quarters from ordinary ones is precision. Some examples show sharply defined lettering, strong rim formation, and clear separation in Washington's hair and facial features. These qualities indicate carefully aligned dies and optimal striking pressure, conditions that were not consistently achieved during that year. When all of these elements appear together, they signal a coin that stands far above the rest. Collectors often describe them as quietly commanding attention, almost as if the coin itself signals its rarity. Condition plays a decisive role here. For this issue, even the smallest imperfections can dramatically reduce desirability. Tiny contact marks, faint scuffs, or muted luster can place a coin firmly into the common category. Finding a 1978 quarter with clean surfaces, vibrant original shine, and full design detail is extraordinarily difficult. The few surviving in pristine form are celebrated because they capture the coin exactly as it left the mint decades ago. Another layer of intrigue comes from the way the coins were produced. During this period, dies were often used well past their ideal lifespan. Some strikes appear unusually bold and crisp, while others show softness in key areas. These differences reflect real variations in the minting process rather than wear from circulation. For collectors, tracing these differences provides a fascinating glimpse into the mint's operational realities in the late 1970s. There are also examples that display striking irregularities formed at the moment of production. These characteristics were created during striking, not through later damage. When such features appear alongside strong overall quality, they elevate the coin into a category that attracts serious collector attention. In some cases, even minute differences in die alignment or striking pressure make one coin dramatically more desirable than another. What makes the 1978 quarter especially compelling is how convincingly ordinary it appears. It blends seamlessly with other quarters of the era, which caused most people to ignore it completely. Very few were set aside with care, and even fewer were protected properly over time. That lack of early recognition is a major reason high-quality survivors are so rare today. Each surviving example tells a story of endurance and luck, quietly surviving decades of heavy circulation. This quarter was shaped by neglect rather than celebration. It did not benefit from special packaging, heightened public awareness, or careful long-term storage. Its rarity was created slowly, through years of circulation, handling, and disregard. They represent survival against the odds, and each one offers collectors a tangible connection to a moment in U.S. minting history that was otherwise unremarkable. The 1978 quarter demonstrates that significance does not always come from age, metal, or bold design changes. Sometimes it comes from precision surviving where precision was never prioritized. It rewards careful observation and challenges assumptions about what modern coins can become. Every high-grade example is a reminder that value can emerge from the most unassuming places. When a 1978 quarter appears with exceptional surfaces, strong detail, and preservation far beyond what the year typically offers, it commands immediate attention. For those who recognize its rarity, the coin represents a remarkable blend of history, craftsmanship, and chance, quietly waiting to be appreciated. One such example has reached a recorded value of $75,000, firmly establishing the 1978 quarter as one of the most unexpected standouts in modern U.S. coinage. So, if you come across a 1978 quarter, don't just see it as an ordinary coin. Take a closer look at the details, the sharpness of the lettering, the strength of the rims, and the clarity in Washington's hair and features. Even small differences can make a huge impact on its significance. Coins that have been well preserved over the decades are rare survivors, quietly holding stories of the past and offering a glimpse into the craftsmanship of the mint. The next coin we're looking at is the 1983 D quarter, a piece that might seem ordinary at first glance but has quietly earned a place among the most intriguing modern quarters. This coin comes from a period when the mint was producing billions of quarters each year, making it easy to overlook any individual issue. Yet, beneath its seemingly common appearance, there are subtle factors that make certain examples highly sought after by collectors today. By 1983, the quarter had long been struck in the clad composition we know today, and Washington's profile had become a familiar sight in pockets, registers, and vending machines across the country. The public rarely gave a second thought to these coins, which made perfect conditions even rarer. For the 1983 D, finding one that has retained sharp detail and original luster requires both luck and timing. Many were heavily circulated, quickly losing the crisp features of their initial striking. The D mint mark indicates it was produced in Denver, and like many quarters of this era, the coin was part of a massive production run. While large numbers might suggest abundance, the reality is far more nuanced. Coins from this year vary subtly depending on die usage, striking pressure, and production conditions. Certain strikes display extraordinary sharpness in the lettering, the rims, and Washington's profile, while others show softness caused by worn or overused dies. The difference between a common coin and a top-tier example can be striking. Condition is everything for this issue. Tiny contact marks, minor scuffs, or even slight discoloration can place a coin firmly in the ordinary category. Meanwhile, the rare examples that retain full original luster and crisp detail immediately stand out. These coins are not merely collectibles, they are snapshots of a moment in minting history, preserved against decades of handling and circulation. A coin in pristine form captures the artistry and craftsmanship of the mint at a time when precision was easy to overlook. Another intriguing aspect of the 1983 D quarter is the way it survived over the decades. Many coins from circulation were lost, damaged, or simply handled roughly, leaving only a small number of well-preserved specimens. Some were saved by accident, tucked away in rolls, collections, or coin folders, while others were protected intentionally by collectors who recognized quality even at the time. The result is a coin that appears ordinary but can be extremely impressive when examined closely, showing details that most people today would never expect from such a modern issue. Even minor variations in striking and die wear can create coins that are highly desirable. For instance, a 1983 D quarter with strong rims, sharp lettering, and well-defined details on Washington's portrait can command serious attention. These subtle differences are what separate a common circulated quarter from one that stands out to collectors, offering insight into the production practices of the early 1980s mint. In some cases, coins with the smallest anomalies, slightly doubled letters, perfectly centered devices, or unusually brilliant surfaces, become the ones that draw the most interest. What makes the 1983 D particularly captivating is its story of survival. Unlike older, historic coins, this quarter's rarity wasn't immediately obvious. It quietly endured decades of circulation and handling, with only a small fraction escaping with near-perfect condition. That quiet journey has made the finest examples far more compelling to today's collectors, demonstrating that even modern coins can hold surprises. Coins like this are a reminder that rarity is not only a product of age or metal, it can also come from careful preservation and sheer chance. Collectors often emphasize the subtle ways in which these coins reveal their uniqueness. The sharpness of Washington's hair, the clarity of the mottos, and the integrity of the rims can tell a story about how the coin was struck and handled. Some examples appear almost untouched, as if they just left the mint, while others tell a more rugged tale of decades spent in circulation. This contrast is part of what makes identifying a top-quality 1983 D quarter so satisfying. So, if you come across a 1983 D quarter, don't just see it as part of your change. Take a careful look at the details, examine the sharpness of the rims, the clarity of the lettering, and the definition in Washington's profile. Coins that have preserved these qualities are rare survivors, representing careful production and decades of fortuitous preservation. Recognizing these features could reveal a hidden treasure in your own hands, a coin that quietly stands out from billions of others minted the same year. One such 1983 D quarter has reached a recorded value of $69,000, proving that even coins from the modern era can achieve extraordinary significance when condition, rarity, and survival come together. Thank you so much for joining me today and exploring these incredible quarters with me. I hope you enjoyed discovering the stories, rarity, and hidden treasures behind each coin. If you learned something new or found this fascinating, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more coin adventures and collector insights. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. There's always another amazing coin waiting to be uncovered. Your support helps us bring more detailed, exciting content about rare coins, their history, and their hidden value. Remember, sometimes the most ordinary coins in your pocket might just be hiding extraordinary surprises. Keep looking closely, and who knows, you might find your very own treasure.